Good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. I am joined today with Elsa Dillon. She is the amazing star child that just has come through this experience for me and has really supported and helped me in a lot of ways. And I just love my chats with Elsa. So we share a lot in common too. And so when we have our stories, I'm gotta fix this. There we go. Technology is not really supporting me the way I'm used to lately. Have you noticed that? um, I lost my thought. So take it away, Elsa. How are you?
I'm I'm good, and wow, what a week! Hey, just the synchronicities that we are having with people is just, especially with Pamela. Pamela sent me a message a while ago, and I don't know how deep you want to go into it, but you said Odin. My grandfather is Odin. He's my 50, and I was like, wow. So she knows she's connected to this Saxon warrior Norse god type. I've never heard of him. I mean, I kind of have heard of him, but I don't know much about him.
Mm.
And checked into it, just origin names, just to see what resonated. And then bang, I was like, that's the energy of right now, is him.
Yeah.
It's that it's shifted from this mother energy that we were having to this masculine energy, and it's come in with a bang, which I kind of knew was coming, but wasn't ready for. I think it came in around a weekend that everyone admitted it was coming in, was around the 27th of June.
Yeah, yeah. The 25th specifically for me, which was a significant thing because I had channeled that previously that it would happen on the 25th. I just didn't know that it was that. I knew
Yeah.
it was divine masculine child is kind of what it felt like to me, though. Yeah, Odin. So please go on.
Yeah, well, it had a lot to do with our children as well, especially the boys. And then uh, bang comes in, then knocks me out for a week.
Right.
But again, it doesn't just knock me out. We have to go and get new electrical poles on the farm. So those huge poles, they've they had I think they said 6 teams of 20 guys because they've got to change the poles on all the valleys, and they were taking them a meter higher. And I said, so you're elevating our energy lines a meter higher. I was like, okay, this is
I'm gonna
this is
ascend.
yeah, this is this is funny. And had a lot of indigenous ones working in those, so that was really nice. We had them on the land,
Oh,
and we've been gifted things this week too, like big things that we weren't expecting, that we'd kind of been needing.
mhm.
So we had, a little bit of knockout stalemate, taking in all the Odin energy, and then yesterday happened. So I'm gonna let you go with what's happening, because I want to hear what's happening with you.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah, there. So I've been getting these channeled messages of specific dates for a little while. Like I before it was like more broad. Like I started getting the ones for this next, that the month we just left, and also the next few months, starting about 5 years ago. But I didn't realize, um, the exact date until, like, I guess it was February or so, when we were really talking a lot, you and I, Elsa, and I started to get like, oh, here it comes, and it was before February because I knew all of those holiday dates. So it was like around November. Anyway, it all culminated and came to this. Yeah, I had known, I had done this genealogy a while back, and then I had kind of forgotten about it. And I picked up an old phone of mine, and the fact that my distant great grandfather was supposedly Odin. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, so I took a screenshot and sent that to Elsa and just to be like, this is my grandpa. Nice to meet you. Just kind of as a joke, but at the same time, I knew it was important right then. I shared it with two other people, and the other people that I shared it with had the same response that you did. They were also having a moment right then at that very moment when they received the message that this energy is coming through. And so what does that mean? There's a lot of misunderstandings of the Norse religions and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of correct stuff, though. To be very, brief about it, it's the Druid Fey knowledge coming back. And it wasn't that it was gone exactly. It was intentionally hidden, kind of put on the top shelf until we were old enough to reach it, is kind of what it was made to do. And so, right. And it isn't so much we're trying to like hide it from everybody and keep everybody from having access. It's just like, you don't give a power tool to a toddler, at that point they get a plastic hammer and they get to practice. It's not even a real hammer. They just think it is, and so now we're starting to get our power tools. We're starting to be given like the early lessons of it too, right? Yeah, power tools in our toolbox. And go ahead.
Well, one I found out with Odin is I think I've been saying in your chat groups, it's always Thursday. It's always Thursday. Odin is connected with Wooden, which is Wednesday. So he's connected to Wednesday.
Right.
He's also connected to the number 11.
Yeah.
Which has,
and you know what? It's 11:11 right now on my phone.
Of course it is. So 11:11 is the grandfathers. So they're leaving one behind. So it's the father leaving a seed behind. That's 11. That's also 1-1. It's also a reflection of each other. It's also being. So we're in 7-7-3-7 phase till the 25th of this month. Right. From the 7th of this month. So we're in 7. So we're in reflecting ourselves to ourselves. So now that's got elves. Odin is connected to the Fae, and he's connected to the elves and the elf. Now, I didn't realize this, but elf is specifically a male. Elven is the female version of. Huh. I didn't realize this.
What's the plural?
Well, because I wrote on our little promo, our elves, ourselves. Yeah. I didn't realize, of course, it's Odin.
That's really fun. I'm very fascinated. Yeah. Wow, it's so cool how that just happens.
Yeah, and it's also, elf doesn't have the word Eve in it, but elven has Eve in it, which is the female version, which is belly of Eve.
Right.
It also has, elven has L and N in it. I think that's what it had, L and N in it. And those two letters are 9. So the 9th, Nem, and 1 again. So being the highest number, and then Eve.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is all something from Odin. Gosh.
You can't make this up. And I just got a comment. I just noticed. And I still have struggled to say her name correctly. I don't know if I say it right or not. She's a beautiful energy that comes through. And Lies Lot says 11 is Elva in Swedish.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say Swedish words. So yeah, but it's Elva with Elven. So you take the L and the N out, because a lot of the time they just keep adding stuff to the words.
Yeah.
So they goop it up, they goop it up.
Right.
And what's interesting, so then you have Odin, and then you have our real life stuff happening that coordinates with it. So not tonight, which is just happened for me because it's 4 a.m. now here, but last night I get waken up at 11. Like,
Mm.
why am I waking up at 11? I really need to sleep. And it was him. I was up from 11 till 3:33, and he's sending me all the code. He starts mapping me how it's connected. And then, Pamela, you showed me something on your knee.
Mhm.
I overlay it on a map.
Oh yeah, do tell.
And so we go and do a huge, 6-hour grounding day yesterday. It was huge.
Oh my.
And I said to the universe, Richard's got a busy day. We're not going anywhere unless there's a reason for us to go. And the reason, we had to go and pick up 2 water tanks because we were low on water. And the water tanks were in the region that we had to go to. And we had to go at 11.
Uh-huh.
Not by our time, but the guy that we were picking up these water tanks from. Okay, you can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
So I'm in the car with Ginger and Richard, and we're on the way. And the whole way we're passing all these, this area that has lots of Fae names. Not only Fae names in Norse, but Fae names in Indigenous
Fun.
people. So we're driving past, and Ginger's going, "Are you going to do this the whole trip?" And I'm going, "There's another one. There's another." She's going, "I know why I only come on small car trips with you because you drive."
So funny.
So it was a big day.
I'm gonna show this. So I have a I guess I should tell the quick story about it, but the short version is the first time I merged with higher self, I was 11. I was 11 when this happened. Yeah, that's funny. I actually hadn't realized it until I said that out loud. Anyway, I never had a birthmark on my body, and I had dove into the ocean to both my sister and I couldn't swim. And anyway, I had merged with my higher self, and then I had this birthmark. So that's like my right leg and my knee, right? And this is the picture I had sent to Elsa. And this not a birthmark showed up. What's funny about it is that when I started to show people, everyone I showed, they're like, yeah, that's a birthmark. Like, ooh. No, this just happened, and no one was able to comprehend it. I even went back through photographs of when I was a child, younger child, and I never had it. It wasn't on my leg. And, to just, sometimes we need to validate ourselves. When other people around us are trying to tell us that we're making a big deal out of nothing or something like that. Anyway, so I shared this with Elsa, and then you overlaid it over a map. What part of the map did it? What country?
So before I take on grounding work or have to go and spend a lot of petrol driving somewhere, because I really do like being on the farm. So it's a big job for us to organize the family. And so if I have to present something to Richard to do, it's got to be worthy, which I think is great because that's how you should be in life anyway. Yeah. So I said, you better give me some, things, because I have to present this to everyone in the family, and they're going to have to approve because they're not like, it's a big deal because it takes out our whole day, which means shopping and just basic day-to-day stuff. Anyway, for some reason, they kept, because your mark came up as starboard on the right side of the boat.
Yeah.
They kept showing me starboard, and so they said, we're upside down, flip it around. So I flipped it over, and then I saw that it's actually islands.
Wow.
Sorry.
I wondered that because, yeah, the angle I show it to you, I'm at that my knee's on top. So like I'm looking at it with my knee bent toward my face. So it should be upside down, technically.
So I turn it this way, and I drag it over the coastline, and I've got, Oh my gosh, that's the location we have to go to. And
Oh my goodness.
your mark, I'll send it to you. I
Okay,
didn't want
please.
to. Sometimes I don't like sending maps because it's just too personal for the land, sort of thing. So, but I'll send you the map. But it
Yeah.
links up in a perfect triangle. Yeah,
Wow.
and it links up with
Fascinating.
a sword on the land and Odin's horse. And
No, really. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
now I did not do any of this. It was already there. It connects previously to a dream that I had 3 years ago, where three wise men pointed with their shepherd sort of sticks to this location. It connects to that date, the 27th of June.
Right.
Like this is connects to Eastern Islanders,
Yep.
Pleiadians, and the indigenous sirens, and they call them Yowies here, but ancient ones or mountain beings.
Yeah.
I can't make it up.
No.
I
And
mean,
what's
it
you
just
don't
can't.
yeah. It's just riding along on the waves, right? Like this is um it wasn't very long after that that I started to have interactions with very specifically the Pleiadians. That was actually what caused my family and people around me to think that I was unstable was this Pleiadian interaction that I was having. And it was literally right after all of this had occurred. And they had come to, I didn't even know what the word transmute meant. I kind of interpreted it as energetic therapy. Like you go to counseling, you talk to a therapist, and then the Pleiadians come and you let the emotions come out and they take them and turn them to something beautiful and give them back to you. And that's what they were doing with me at that time. Was, I was right in the middle of some pretty intense trauma that started at birth, and I was still living in a very abusive situation, and like a lot of I was part of the non-virgin child group of the world, and so and the reason we were on that boat that night was we were being shared, but we were the entertainment for the night. And it's just a density or a healing or a trauma that many of us find ourselves needing to heal through in order for the light to come through. And that's why we came here, and I just want to echo that because I know a lot of you that are listening and watching right now came from a varying degree of trauma, and no one's trauma is more intense than another person's. I've actually found that it's better to have more trauma than to only have a little bit. Isn't that weird? The people who have so little trauma can't get past into the healing of it, it seems.
Yeah. Well, they feel safe enough where they are, so it's like a comfort, and it's just a big blindfold, really. But what will happen is the spins are going to get spinnier, and they'll have something will arise. It just does, just
It's
the way
happening
it
right
works.
now.
Yeah, I love how they, this situation that you were in on the boat was like they baptized you and your sister in the water.
Yeah.
Like
We
it's
left
full,
ourselves back there too. We did. We came up as different
like
people.
because your head would have gone under, like full up,
Yeah, I dove
down.
head first. I'm not that
Yeah,
person. I
no.
was so surprised at myself. Sorry, go on.
But um, the way they showed me Starburn is also on our maps works because you turn it Starburn and they're on the east coast. So your star, so it was on Starburn on the map as well. Like it was showing me the directions on the map. As soon as I overlay it, um, another location that I've always felt really weird about with Richard, and we kept saying, "What's going on with this land? What's going on with this land?" They found 100 million old, like whale skeleton fossil,
100 million?
and I was like, "Hang on a
Wow.
second." That okay, now that doesn't make sense because I know they when they date carbon, they can only go back 2 million years. So where are they getting these numbers from? And the reason they've been doing this stuff to this land is because they're digging it all up to
Right.
find these fossils. So I'm like, it's back at Odin again. Back at Odin.
And
Like,
also, if you translate the time to Wednesday of Odin, it's actually Thursday for you when it's Wednesday for me.
yeah, well, when I woke up at 11, I went, oh, this is so calculated. I said, I hope whoever's watching this show, I hope you're really enjoying yourselves because the marrying of it is amazing. It
Yeah.
really is. So
Interesting enough too that time window, that window of that you mentioned, 11 to 3. This is my time that I can't sleep either. The problem that I face is that my bedtime when I can finally go to sleep is around between 11 and midnight. So I end up being up until 3. Most times there's been occasions where I'm like, yes, I got to sleep in time and then just miss that window so I could sleep. But like this morning, I was up until 4 o'clock. So like, it's just this thing that, and a lot of us are having it right now. There was something else I wanted to bring up. So you brought up all these ones, and when you said, wow, there's so many things to go into right now. Okay, first of all, the Fae, I always see it as 11s. That's their name. And so Elven 11, the way that it's spelled, so like you said, it does fit. I always see it as 1s, 11s. And the Fae is been coming forward very slowly and gradually. and kind of been coming forward to understand that it is so many different things that we've kind of classified and put in different categories and boxes and then shoved them away as like hokey, unstable information or whatever. And so we have the Fae, the Druid. We have a lot of this. I don't even know if the word is for it, but it's Aboriginal. You would know this ancient knowledge that's been put into, like you said, they're like giants, the people of the mountains. I think you called them
the ancient ones. Well,
the ancient ones.
there's a few different ones, but it's well documented. It's just all hush hush.
Yeah,
And the locals don't want to talk about it anymore because they've had enough. They've been ridiculed so much over the years. But they walk through the mountains, and the Indigenous will walk through the mountains, and so they like what most humans would call time travel. So they go to another part up the coast.
right.
Yeah, so there's all that sort of stuff. There's lots of people.
Ew, that's
So they've heard them for so many years. All these giant one voices. They put recordings out in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
They've got hours and hours of recordings of these beings.
That's
So yesterday we're doing all this. We've completed our groundings. We've picked up our water tanks. By the way, we picked up 2 water tanks. So 2 empty containers are on the back, right? Got Electrical being Ginger with us and Richard, and feeling pretty special about what has been going on. And we stopped on the side of the road where we have stopped for many years, and it's just a little farmer. We bought some things, and Richard starts talking to him, and he starts talking about ET ships landing in his fields. He rings his neighbours and checks on them. His one neighbour got abducted for 3 hours. So the poor husband was freaking out because he didn't know where his wife was. Who do you call? So he was.
that really happened. They got abducted for 3 hours.
Yeah. So he checks. So because he can see the whole valley, he checks on all his neighbours because he can see the craft coming. Or sometimes he said it's military, but a lot of the time, and he described all these different ones that we've been seeing. He's like 70 or 80. He's so farmer. Like he's just, got his farm clothes on, and I get out the car, shake his hand, and told him what we've been doing as well. And he was so relieved that he's not the crazy farmer dude.
Yeah. That,
But he checks on the neighbors, like it's so nice. Because
that
who
is
do
so
you call?
cool.
Look, my wife has just been taken by a spacecraft. Can you get over here? And the police cars turn up. What are they gonna do?
Right.
What are you gonna do? Freeze.
Was it midday? Was it like in the middle of the day when this happened?
When we met him,
When he had had when
or
the
his
abduction happened?
experience, um, he's the way he told us about all his experiences have been happening all his life in this.
Right.
He's an old farming from old farming family. It's just been part of his.
That's awesome.
It just didn't happen now. It's been happening since he was a little kid. Yeah. So,
when you first mentioned it, my alarm was I thought that she was abducted by a human. I'm sorry, the people upstairs are putting in carpet. I don't know if you can hear the banging. If you can, I apologize.
Oh, they're stomping like Odin.
Yeah, and it's very thunderous. And no, it's funny though, isn't it? That when I thought that she was abducted by humans, I was alarmed, and when I realized it was ETs, I was like, "Oh, cool." Like I was reassured.
Well, I mean, it could have been into. That's the other thing. You never. I mean, unless it's yourself, because you know the feelings. If they tell you these stories, because it's not your experience, you can't have a feeling on it. I mean, you can feel their energy when they speak it.
Right.
So, of course, I don't know which ones are. But he said, how can they be so low? How can they have no turbulence? He was saying all the same things we were saying, and how they present. Like sometimes they'll come and then go through him or atomize or. So it was just so cute because he's a farmer. Like he's just.
Yeah.
It was just so. It was just matter of fact, sharing the experience. Yes, it's out there, but it's happening to him.
Yeah.
And he asked me, he said, well, if they were going to hurt me, they would have hurt me a long time ago like that. I said, yeah, I don't think that it's that. And I said to him, you watch over here between the 21st and the 25th. And Richard goes, yeah, we're going to come back and see you on the 26th.
Yeah. It's so fun
he wants to hear the stories.
I keep cutting you off. I apologize. I get so excited when I talk to you. Like, it was just like, there's like, and if I don't take notes, that I've totally forget. There's so much content, it's so awesome. So I apologize for me continuing to cut you off. I was going to say just now, I am so impressed by how many of us have gotten the 25th. Like the 25th is a big deal for all of us right now. For this month, by the way, we had the 25th last month. It was the 18th, and then it moved through until the 7th. And then now we're waiting for this 25th. It's like, right, like you said, right before the 25th, there's a little window of time that it's like awesome blossom time. And all of this is coming forward. What's changed for me is that my ET experiences have changed to be more earthen, ancient earth, Pan, Odin, Druid, Fae, like this type of and also Phoenician. I didn't actually expect that at all. And then Stephanie had mentioned that Sasquatch, and I live in Sasquatch country. Like I've interacted with Bigfoot several times in this area. Like I'm in the middle of the trees in the corner of the Washington state, and where Sasquatch is here too. And they're also this Odin, Druid, earth and Fae like energy. It's all coming forward right now. Even the ET experiences. Have you had any kind of difference with that lately?
Yeah, it's just really so because it's shifted into that more masculine, it's more like chanting it in, grounding it in. It's a masculine surge coming through, which because we've been in this mother type energy, and having to return to the true star seeds that we are in our beingness here has stirred up a lot of issues, because that's what mothers do, right? And completely rattled everyone. And then it swinged over to masculine, and I didn't feel like it was. I felt like it went with such a bang over, like how Warrior would come in, and open the door really loud. And we're in Crescent Moon, and they wear the horn, the Crescent Horn Moon. So, and that ties in with that date again, the 20s, the new moon coming in, it ties in with this. So when I say he's coming in with a bang, I see ships and lots of that chanting and
Yes,
singing it in, not singing it in like a church way, but singing it in
no,
as
it's
in
like a celebration, like like that kind of, right? I hear it too. I hear it, and it's like this deep male, masculine, beautiful voice of celebration. And every time that they speak, that they sing, they get louder and louder together, like in this. And it's many ships. It's they're coming together, and it's like they're able to use the air like water. Is the air water? That's a question I've been keep having come up in my head. Isn't that fascinating?
Well, we've had Fleet come through craft, and I had it one on a Zoom session, which I had to interrupt and go out and it's funny because it was Jet and Richard that called me out to Fleet the first time. I was like 15 or 20 going that way. And that was about a rising the 9-to-5ers. And I thought, oh, they're so cute. Okay. Then they came through again. And then they came through again 2 or 3 days ago. And now I understand why. It's Odin. It's that fleet. It's the Crescent Moon. It's that energy coming through. And what they've been doing to us is putting things in the air that takes that masculine energy from us. And that's why it came in with a bang. And I think that's why we all got a little bit run down, because that's been so depleted in us. And all this week, and I'll be loving to hear what your audiences say, all this week I've all had problems with tendons and salt. Magnesium is the biggest one. But it's I think it's bromine is the worst one, which they used a lot in wars to take the maleness out of the men.
Right.
But that also takes it out of the female as well, because you need that everyone needs a bit of masculine and feminine. So if they're doing things like this and it affects the men, it also affects the female's balance as well. Anyway, coming into this Odin energy, I found, like last night I had to wake up and have just salt water. Just because I kept getting sharp twinges or sharp pains in my tendons, and I was told to pay particular attention to any damaged nerves. That they're the areas that will be feeling it at the moment. So I'd be curious to hear. Because it's not just us; it's the kids and the horses and the lots of salt.
Charge. Sorry, pardon me.
Sorry.
Just want to echo what you're saying. The electric charge is what people are calling it. It feels like their skin has an electric charge. I interpret it as it's a sensation of feeling my nerves moving and doing their job. One of the gifts I was given by I had an Arcturian visitation a little while ago, and it was there's a lot to it that we'll probably chat about at a later time too. There's just, because I don't want to take up the whole time telling my story. I'm here to talk to you. The thing about this is that when they had 3 fingers, just like, this pinky is such a strange appendage. We don't tend to have this in most races. It's always like this, right? Or no thumb too. Yeah. Like this particular being had thumb. There was 3 of them. They always come in threes. There's always one standing in front of them, and then 2 right behind them. That's always how it works. I don't know about you. It looks like you're agreeing. And I noticed them. Like they opened my bedroom door. Of course I'm gonna hear it, and so, and you could see the 2 behind had been in motion walking and kind of hesitated, seeing that I had woken, and the being put up his hand gently. It wasn't like, oh, get her, or anything like that, but he put up his hand, and an electrical charge lovingly left his palm. And I got to follow the charge visually, as if I was riding the wave of the charge of electricity. And one went right here, one went right here, and right here. I actually have a mark now right here. It's very bizarre. And then I followed the electrical charge through my brain and watched it trigger synapsi, whatever the plural of synapses is. Synapsis is the electrical charge that moves in your brain to create whatever. And then I watched my brain being repaired. What's cool about this? Well, that's cool too. What's the coolest part about this is, since then, now I can see other people's energy. I can follow, just like I did my own energy. I can follow like I'm surfing, and go small and go and follow people's energy in their body and see this neurological network. And I didn't know what it was for a long time, because, looking far away, the person looks like they're glowing more. And then if you let your this eye zoom in, then you can actually see where their electrical charges are moving. They look like a bunch of rivers of white light, and sometimes they're different colors. I've correctly been able to point out where there's blockages in people's brains who have had strokes and stuff. It's just really cool. I bring this up because I've been noticing more and more that, just like, I'm just echoing and validating what you said, of there's like the blockages places. They look like they become lakes. They're a pool of light. They kind of like tangled string. People are starting to let it out. It's kind of like a blossoming of a lotus in a way. And while that's happening, more light's being sent there to repair. And that's why a lot of people are having like twitches and shaking and like twitches, and mostly people will usually notice it here. This is like where they'll see it the most. And then they'll have like, they call them Charlie horses or muscle spasms, where it's really intense in larger muscle groups. This is what's happening for you. It's for you. I know it feels scary, because a lot of people are like, I'm shaking. I can't stop shaking. There's something, and the doctors say I'm fine. And I feel like I'm having the beginning stages of MS or something like that. Allowing yourself to not go into that fear place and just enjoy it, like allow it. And when you do that, it becomes easier to do it too, it turns out. It's like giving consent, right?
Yeah. So we learn. So by sharing this information, whether it gels with you or not, you'll take this information and then if you do have these symptoms, instead of going straight to the doctor, you'll go, I'm going to sit with this for a while. I'm okay with this because they said they've had that same thing, or you don't take the child to the doctor straight away. This is part of undoing the matrix.
Yeah.
This is the dissolving. This is the responsibility of your own ship. And by hearing and sharing, fair trade, give, receive, and not just with us, but with our children and our neighbors and the shopkeeper. You're sharing all this information. You're stopping them to go and get medication and get sicker or more symptoms from the medication. So this is the way that you return the power.
Right.
But like you said, if they've got those damaged nerves and things, it's gonna so if it's damaged, so like I see fried wires, like electrical wires, so just say you've got fried wires, for them to all knit back, and the energy to come through. Sometimes that can be discomfort, or if you're cleaning out parasites or cleaning out poisons out the body, it can give you severe headaches
Oh yeah.
or make you lethargic because your body is having to do extra work to get rid of things that it was going to keep in there, and now we're getting rid of it. So it's like, hang on a second, I've got to finish this job first before we go and do. So you need to give yourself space to change, and that's something that's just not done in society. Again, by doing this and understanding this, this is the new way.
Right.
It's very cool. But
They said the word is recalibration, and that makes sense to me too.
yeah, recalibrate. Yeah.
And it's 1144, 144,000. I've been seeing that
Ah.
number so much. So please go on. I just wanted to add that.
So there's this other lady. She's very well known. She's been on Todd a lot. Girl of the Universe. She puts up all the flares and magnetic sphere and things like that. She said on the 13th it's going to be a doozy day. She said it's a huge energy coming through, and I was like, of course, if Odin's coming through, he's not going to come through with fairy dust. He's coming through big. So, of course, he's coming through on that day. And so it's interesting how Pamela's mark on her leg matches a map, which matches Odin, which matches the Crescent Moon, which matches outer world energy coming in.
Right.
So you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with all that information, because not only does it feel good and it crosses over so many platforms, it's healing. And we get gifts if we go this way. If I chose to go and get medication, I would have more symptoms. I'd feel drowsy, like, you know.
And you're blocking what can happen for you.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
This is an image that someone just shared recently that I'm going to share again, because I just want to hold it up to this is a map of what the world looked like before so the circle inside is our known world, like the earth. Yet there's still these land masses that this is all like Norse ideas of what these different places are. At the top here by the crack on my phone is where Valhalla is, I believe. I think it says Valhalla. Asgard. Asgard is like the realm of Odin, is the place. The Rainbow Bridge is in between this little line where with the known land of Earth. And when you were talking before, and I'm really impressed that this came back up, because I was wondering, and then I was kind of getting a question or answer about it a little bit, because when you were saying about going into the mountains, and I saw very many times where people were made to feel like they had gone forward when they were actually turned back around, over and over and over and over again. You know, like an example similar to what is that triangle that people get lost in? I always forget. Bermuda. Similar to this concept. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the triangle that was drawn from your map, your starburn, is a triangle. But I'm telling you, Pamela, these link up with ancient indigenous sites and the solstice and the equinox. Like, I can't make that on a map.
Right.
What's interesting is the interference in these locations from government, which confirms it only more for me, how they place certain things around these sacred sites. So I just like, you know, we went to one and it was just supposed to be a sports field, but they've got like military cyclone fencing around a sports field. And
right.
I just said to Richard said, this does not feel right here. I said, no, it has a weird energy, right? And he said, why would they if kids are just coming to play sports here, why have they got like military fencing around this location? He said this feels more like a concentration camp type from a
Right.
wall. And I said, yeah. And so he said, so do all these people that live around here not notice this? And I said, well, they're too busy being busy about being busy, telling me that they're busy. They're
Right.
not like the farmer who's getting up at dusk and dawn, seeing the craft, going, oh, look, I've got to fix the tractor, go away.
Right. Noticing the land they reside on. Like that's something
Yeah.
else here too. Like I moved in here. There's a hollow mountain right there. And it's shaped like a pyramid. And there's this whole, the locals know there's like, it's haunted because it speaks at night and it makes this obnoxious noise at night. And like the mountain does. And when the Christian Crusades or invading Europeans rather came into this place, they put a big white cross on top of the mountain, and it keeps igniting like it's for years. And they every couple of years they go and they bring another big giant white cross up there and stick it up there, and you know there it's so difficult to get to, and it's just so treacherous, and it has, like you said, all of this barbed wire, razor barbed wire, not just regular barbed wire. This is like do not come in kind of barbed wire. And they put all this effort in putting this cross up there, getting through all of this to keep everybody out so that no one will burn it, and it ignites spontaneously. They'd have no proof of who's been doing it, kind of thing. Like,
So you can see like, so I look at it in, how our family would look at it and they go, what? I just thought we burnt that last summer. We're gonna have to go. So you see all the fae and the go on. It's that time of year again. We've got to go and burn the cross.
again.
Like, if you can't get to that location, who's the barbed wire for? Bears? Like, what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what we do. We question, why have they named that road that road? Like, really? That's the name of the road? Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's all that's what we did yesterday. So we just went and did a clearing, and we weren't scheduled for rain. That's why we were picking up water tanks, right? And the 3 encounters that we had were leprechaun type beings. They look like leprechaun. They sound like a leprechaun.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it was just so cool. Like it was just amazing how we were driving home, and Richard goes, "Does that look like rain clouds?" And I said, "Oh well, we've done grounding and clearing. Usually it rains straight away after." And sure enough, it starts raining on the windscreen. Ginger goes, "You're getting good, Mum. You're getting faster." So now we're coming to rain again. But I'm just showing that we get confirmations, and yeah, we didn't have forecast for rain till Friday. So
that's amazing.
So thanks, Odin.
Yeah.
Thanks for waking me up.
It's thunder and it's storm and it's clouds and it's this
dramatic clouds,
jubilant and powerful voice of men. And as they it feels like a chant, but it's a song, and it has to do with the water between the vessels, where how it amplifies and gets louder and louder. And when that happens, it's coming for me already a few times, and it's fun because I have validation on one of the times. But as it was happening, it just like you just feel powerful, like you're like, okay, we're good now. Balance has occurred, kind of a feeling. And it's just like, this is happening right now. And these places that we have, I remember the channeling. It was so long ago, but I'm going to I might get the number wrong. I am pretty sure there are still 600,000 pyramids on this planet right now. There were a lot more that were actually vessels of flight, like ships, and they're coming back. However, some of these things we've excused or confused for mountains, hills. They've been under oceans, these important places, and it feels like the calls of the dwarves from beneath these pyramids that are coming too, not just from the sky, and like it's coming from heaven and from earth, and meeting in the middle, opening that rainbow bridge for everyone to cross. Like the rainbow bridge used to be, only the gods, that's the word they used, could cross between the places. And now it's like, all right, now y'all won't be drawn on my walls and, doing stuff. So you're allowed to, when you're ready, come this way, and the rainbow warriors, the rainbow tribe, all these things, this is all a very, very important verbiage. People don't really fully realize why it's so important to them, and I just want to add something else because it's been added earlier. Both Jenny and Diamond Direct Path talked about the 25th. Jenny says 26 is start of new year in some ancient calendars. And then Diamond of Direct Path says, yes, 26 is known as day out of time. And July 25 is the last of 3 Trinity 777 portal this month. So there has been 3. So they got 777, 716-7, and 725-7 are the 3 portals for this month and so the 16th is the next one coming, just like we've already been talking about, starting on the 16th, going into the 25th, 26th. I find that all of these like important dates, these portals, these spaces, there's a gradual move into and also a slow decline off of. So like in the earlier years, when I didn't know what Lionsgate was, I would feel Lionsgate about a week or 2 before Lionsgate was here. Lionsgate's the 8/8 portal, August 8th. And then I'd feel it for like 2 or 3 days after. Now I'm feeling Lionsgate. I felt it, what was it, January when we first started talking about it? And it just has a longer curb. So we do feel it more.
Well, that's because you're sensitive.
Right.
So right. You're understanding the senses within you. And that's what we're here to design to do. But because we've had it turned on for so long, so I'm not surprised that you know about Lionsgate. I mean, we have the Lionsgate phase starting around the 26th. So we have 1 day off the 7/7 being, and then we go into the Lionsgate phase. And we call it the phase because exactly like what you said, it builds up. Like the solstice phase, it builds up. The planets just don't appear. They have to merge in. They merge in. So what was interesting is I was outside with Gigi and we heard a huge helicopter coming really low at night. It was probably about 5. Just the sun had gone down, so it's winter here, so it's dark quickly. And we heard a few in the house go, what's that? Because it's rumbling the hills. It's really low. And I had put the fire on outside, and Gigi and I went outside. This boomerang type Phoenix Lights type craft came over our head and then slingshot and went back north.
Wow.
And we called it the boomerang because, we're in Australia. And I looked at Gigi and the rest of the family come out and go, what the? Because it's rattling the house and it's really low and it's not normal light colors of a plane. They shouldn't be that low anyway.
Right.
And the dogs are barking. Like they're disturbing other beings, like other species now. And I said to Gigi, so how does that make you feel? And she goes, it's just a confirmation. I said, so it doesn't make you feel threatened? Or I said, the fact that it's gone over our heads and slingshot back that way, it doesn't make you feel funny? And she went, Mum, it's just, if they were, like the farmer said, if they're going to hurt us, what are we going to do? Like, really? Come on. This is a confirmation of something that's about to happen.
Right.
And then Odin comes in.
Right.
So,
and most of us have been having visitation for the vast majority of our lives for assisting us too. Like I remember so many things. Like my parents, we're just like most people, most of the people who are watching this probably's parents, where they're like, oh, it was a bad dream, or you have such an imaginary amazing imagination, and these types of things. And I'm like, dude, I have fingerprint bruises where I know exactly what happened, and look how much I've changed. Look what they've done for me. And like, how do I know this stuff? We were only, I was brought up in the 50s, even though I was brought up in the 80s, because my parents edited us to only watch content that was developed in the 50s and 60s. I didn't even see a color movie except for Bambi until I was, 10, 11 years old. And, like that was radio and TV and all this anyway. So for me to get this information out of nowhere when we weren't allowed to go outside or anything, it's like they still couldn't trust that it was really happening. It caused fear. It caused this sensation. And I'm bringing this up because I don't know, I went on that little teeny tangent then. However, all of us have been having visitation to assist us for so long, and they've been giving us stuff. Like I noticed that they help my body. Like there's this alignment thing that they do. It's like this little like charged light crystally kind of hand device that they go and then you're like, you feel it, you can see the electricity happen, and it's like, oh, I feel so calm, so happy. And you're like, I'm almost annoyed when they are ready for me to go. It's like, oh, I was so happy right there in my bubble. This happens all the time. A lot of it's due to like toxins that we picked up along the way. Remember that all of us hold the toxins of our grandmother in our body, our mother's mother, because our mother, when in the womb of her mother, already had your egg, who became you, in her body. And so could just think back, generationally speaking, this is just the body. We're not talking about ancestral healing and the emotional stuff, and so there's some need to cleanse. There's things like you said in the air. I've noticed an actual drop, a big drop in the chemtrails. And like I said the bubble word, but I've been seeing hardly any around here lately. Very interesting, because you had said that they stopped putting, or that it was helping when these masculine Druid Odin energies are coming in, it's because they can now. The stuff in the air was taking away the masculinity and damaging the masculinity. The difference is, just really quickly, the difference is that the divine feminine was just literally just like pulled like a weed for a long time. And then when it was placed back in, it was easier for us to recuperate and kind of ground back that divine feminine. The divine masculine was left here and beaten and deranged, and like hurt very deeply, and each one of us have divine masculine and divine feminine. You can see it easiest in a male, though we all have this. So, but isn't that interesting? Go ahead.
Well, by taking on or hearing this information, it'll assist you with your next steps that you take. So your day to day, what can I do now? What can I do now? What can I do now? So understanding that we've been like imagine a mother picking you to pieces. So we've had to return back to who we really are from the beginning cycle of this year. Mm-hmm. Then now we've gone, okay, you're ready now. Bang, come on, let's. And then you see this door bash open with Odin and his crested horn, and he's chanting. And right. You're going, hang on. What? I thought we were in mother mode, and now we're having to. So we've gone down into our bodies, down deep to the place of entry, and now we're rising up through our body. And that means you have to speak it, you have to walk it, you have to act it. And how do you do that? Well, you just do it in increments that suit you each day, and you encourage your family members and
Mhm.
to be that powerful being that they are, and that means being sensitive. So everything we've been told about sensitive, that you're too sensitive, well, go be more sensitive and then power that up.
Right.
And that's tricky.
It's a
And
balancing.
trusting it. Yeah, and fully trusting it. And I guess that's why finances get affected, or health gets affected, or drama, because it makes you take away all those distractions, and now you're going to have to focus on this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's happened to us over the years. It's said, okay, you keep getting distracted, we're going to have to take that away again. Come
Right.
back here.
Oh yeah.
Come back to the place of entry, and then start from there. Now you got to build it up and
Right.
and 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 adjust with the way the earth is spinning. So because you're part of it.
Right.
It's so cute because all the animals like, yeah. Why aren't you doing that anyway? Like they're doing it.
Right.
They're doing it anyway. So,
Yeah.
but they're feeling it too.
Yeah. Oh yes. In fact, there's a lot of people asking me about their pets and ascension symptoms. Surprised that they're like cats, dogs, indoor, outdoor. I don't like the word pet or animal. There's something, the new one that needs to happen. Fur baby just feels too squishy girl for me. Squishy girl is like not, squishy girl means like, I don't know what that means. A chai latte pumpkin spice person. I don't know. No judgment. It's just.
Our kids have the Insta model face for that too. um, they do it really well. Yeah, it's interesting that you're saying how you have to look at it.
Yeah.
And then you have to take all this and go, how am I going to apply that in the way the world thinks now?
Yeah.
And we've seen acting up. We're seeing people like faint. I was in the shops. I don't go to the shops a lot, and someone fainted in the line in front of me.
Of course, it was in front of you
Young
too.
girl, and because this energy is coming through, and they're ignoring, and being busy.
And you
So,
walked into her energy field. Like
oh,
that was the first thing I saw when you said that.
mm,
It was you, and not that you did anything wrong. It's
mm,
being within your energy field. Your frequency is much purer than most
mm.
that you'll meet in the shops.
And I never go. Even Richard goes, "Did you just go to the shops today?" We needed chocolate. And it was, what was interesting is, by this young girl falling over, all the store panicked, and they pulled her to the side and put her on a chair and brought her some juice, some sugar.
Yeah.
And she was with her mum. And so the girl's probably like 22, 23, and her mum's there. Her mum is freaking out. The shop teller lady who was doing the groceries, she was freaking out. But other people in the line were freaking out. But our family, we weren't freaking out because we knew that what was going. We
Yeah.
know. See how it's supported us in this situation. So then, like you said, myself and the two little girls could stay calm.
Yeah.
And through our calmness of coming through the line, it just seemed to dissolve really quickly. And I'm not saying that we did it. It was just that we were calm in
Yeah.
a panic situation. So the ambulance got cancelled.
Yeah.
So see how it starts to
Yep.
go, oh, we don't need that 3D thing anymore.
Yeah.
We don't need that matrix thing anymore.
Right.
She's okay. And then she left. We walked out. By the time we finished our groceries, she'd finished her juice, and then she kind of just walked out just behind us.
Right. She stayed
without
in your
an
energy.
ambulance. Yeah. So
You have said some really important stuff that I wanted to echo, as well as to say, just because this is what It's one of those things that we do. Remember, though, that if you have any kind of intuition that you do need to see a medical professional, please do. No one's telling you not to. However, in my experience and in Elsa's, this has been a frequent. What was happening to me was I would go in for things like this, and the doctors would say, I can't tell what's wrong with you. You're so healthy. In fact, you're healthier than last time. However, here's a prescription. Here's some pills. Take these tablets. And there's a bunch of side effects. So you might want to take these tablets too. Oh, those ones have side effects. So here's some more tablets, and I then later on understood that there were blockers. There was a lot of blockers to it. And again, no judgment if that's something that you need to do for you. However, look what you did for this young woman. I've done this before for a lot of people too. We went to this fair recently, and that's actually how I found out that my energetic sphere reaches 175 feet. Like I was like a little experiment, you could see the reaction of the people in that range. They could feel us coming into their bubble, and they would almost always go and then look to see where it was coming from. It was so fun. I felt like I was being a bully in a way but it was just, we're bringing light, we're bringing energy, we're bringing frequency. And the people who are not quite as balanced, or they have extra toxins in their bodies, and often are in this place of non-consent, this denial, this refusal to participate kind of stuff, then there's this resistance that happens. And so the person will have a temporary profound physical sensation. It's kind of fascinating.
I can see Odin comes in, smashes the door open, and then Pamela rises up as this tall 175-foot being. Goes, oh, okay.
Peace out.
Yeah, so the reason I shared that story in the store is I was going for selfish reasons to get chocolate, because I'd been feeling it this week, and Richard was out fishing, the little girls were at home, Jeannie had headaches, and I went, that's it, we need dark chocolate. So off we went and got dark chocolate. And even Richard went, you didn't buy any groceries. And I went, we had to get chocolate. This was an emergency. And it was completely out of character, but we were really drawn to do it. So we went and did it. And the reason I'm sharing this story is I'm taking this Odin energy and showing how we applied it. And we really didn't do anything. We were just following our calling to get chocolate.
You were put exactly where you were meant to go.
Yeah, so with people say, oh, how do you put it into action? How do you do it? And you just stay in your own senses. So you do things that please you, that make you smile. As long as they're for the highest good, you're on the right path. So just continue doing that, and it will ask you, or you'll see it present in front of you. And because we don't ask for these things to happen. I didn't ask for Pamela to send me a picture or tell me about the mark on her leg. You just did.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
then
such an old
I saw
story.
the picture.
The odds of
it's
it,
such,
right?
But you were 11.
It was 33 years ago, and I was 11.
So 11, and I'm now. Odin's come in on Wednesday and taken the picture and said, well, we're in Australia, so you're going to have to turn it. So I turn it and I place it, and it fits perfectly on a map. Yeah. And your mark is underwater, like pyramid type thing.
Yeah.
I can't make that up.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask this to happen. So now I'm tapping into my senses, seeing this map, and it's a confirmation. And that's how we apply it. Yeah. We go, well, okay, let's go do it. And we get gifted along the way.
Right. You were meant to be there. And I totally agree with you. That's just how it works. And what we are in energetic form are those little girls and little boys that sing and skip and talk and sing about what they're doing. when they're, now I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna get a flower. Oh, look, there goes a butterfly. And oh, hi, elf. Now I'm gonna go, and like that kind of, that's what we are. It's not, okay, this is my plan. It's, we just go and do. And you taught all of those people to remain calm. You imparted part of that ability to each of those individuals that had been in panic, and so they can now access it at a later time too. Imparting the ability to balance within another form is a pretty big deal. And I find that same thing to be true for me too. Even when I believed in the indoctrination of the medical system at that time, I still was the person that I calm. There's no reason to be upset and freaking out. What is that going to accomplish? It's just, that's not my response. Back in those days, I would notice that I would freak out afterward. And I didn't realize I was purging everyone else's panic that I had kind of absorbed, because I didn't know how to not absorb it back then, and so I would have like this full on like meltdown after, and I'd be shaking and have all this extra adrenaline that wasn't mine.
I'm going to bring up a little story. This is what happened when I was in the medical system. So as a child, Mum would have seizures a lot. Now, she wasn't epileptic, but she would have severe seizures. So Mum would go and get a breast scan, because in Australia they say get breast scans all the time for breast cancer. Now, she would get a breast scan. They said, oh, this could be something. So then she'd have to go and get it cut out. So in that process, because her body does not accept pushed in chemicals through the bloodstream, she has a seizure. So Mum would have seizures all the time, and she'd have a seizure and then she'd vomit. So you'd have to clear her mouth because she'd choke. Mm-hmm. And we'd have to keep oxygen, so we'd have to give her mouth to mouth. And I was doing this. My dad would panic a lot, which is understandable, seeing his wife like that. She'd go white, like literally white. But it happened so many times that I was so used to it, and it was like, this again, great. And cleaning her mouth out and giving her the juice. But, we called the ambulance, and they were always quite impressed that we kept her going. Anyway, I was going to go and see my parents in New Guinea, Papua New Guinea. So when you leave Australia, they always say, you've got to get your shots. You've got to get your shots. So I went and got my shots at the local doctor. I went to the local doctor, got the shots, and I woke up like a craft type experience to 5 or 6 doctors in the room freaking out like they were in this store where we were buying the chocolate. Right. And they were freaking out. I had masks on. They were poking and jabbing me and lights everywhere. And obviously I have a seizure. As soon as they put it in my arm, I had a seizure. So obviously I'm the same as my mum. And they said, you've got a brain tumor. I was like, I don't have a brain tumor. I don't have a brain tumor. There's 5 doctors here that say you have a brain tumor. And I'm like, I don't have a brain tumor. Anyway, they called my mum and told her that I have a brain tumor. Anyway, I was in the studio waiting for a model to turn up. So the makeup artist said, do you want me to pluck your eyebrows? So she starts plucking my eyebrows. Well, I have a seizure with her and fall and crack my head on the ground. Ambulance taken to hospital, wake up in hospital going, how did I get here? My sister comes in and says, she's holding my hand crying. They said, you've got a brain tumor. And I've said to her, I do not have matching underwear on today. And she's going, are you kidding me? They've just told me you got a brain tumor. I go, I should have known. I should have done the washing yesterday. I knew. She's going, no, be serious. You've got a brain tumor. I said, I don't have a brain tumor. She said, you do. For 6 months to a year, I had doctors and my family telling me I had a brain tumor. You're going to die. And they're so sad. They will always cry when they see me.
Right.
Like, I don't have a brain tumor. You shouldn't be flying. You shouldn't this. You shouldn't that. I do not have a brain tumor. No matter, they said they've done a CAT scan and you have a brain tumor. I said, to them, I have a brain tumor. To me, I have underwear that is not matching, and this, I have to go. I have to get out of here. I
This is so
do not.
embarrassing.
I was 18. This is a big deal.
Okay.
And I was like looking down saying, who dressed me? So I did a session this week with someone, and she said, I admitted my daughter to hospital. And I was like, whoa, that's a big word. I admitted. And the word hospital is hospice, pit, tell. Hospice means ghost guest. Pit means collection, and tell. So they're keeping all the stories of the portholes in a a ghost guest pit tell. So they keep all the stories of the ghost. So by having a hospital, they can keep a watch over all the portholes of birth and death.
That makes so much sense. Have you ever noticed that you can't ever heal while you're in the hospital? But you don't heal until you come home. Going to the hospital feels like it's taking away your balance, even as a visitor. For me anyway, just always, anytime I go to, it's like you can feel it before you even get there. You're just like, oh. It's like it doesn't feel like it's taking something instead of giving something. I've always felt that way, and I was part of the medical system. I actually worked in the medical system for a time, and that's why it was only for a time, not very long. It feels like what it sounds like the music that's not of a higher frequency, and then you turn it to high frequency music. I can't remember the hertz right now. But when you do one and then the other, that's what it feels like leaving the hospital areas for me. It's
well,
like
that's the other word that you just said, hertz and hertz.
Uh-huh.
It's just frequency.
Right.
So, and I bring up all this wordplay for a reason, because once you start to understand how you're using the words, the ions in your bodies are listening to that. Right. They don't know any different. They don't know good or bad. They just listen to that because you're casting a spell. You're literally casting spells on yourself. So once you understand origin words and you go, oh, hospital. Okay, now I understand. So ghost guest, which I think is a beautiful word, ghost guest.
Yeah.
I actually thought hospice was actually like star anise or cinnamon. Mm-hmm. And I had to Google it, and then I realized, because someone kept saying to me with our dying dog, oh, you're doing hospice. I'm going, I'm not giving them any herbs, like not like that. And I realized that it's actually a term. And then I realized when you admit to going to hospital where they collect all the energy, and then you start to go, wow, well, this is not to make anyone who works in a hospital feel bad or not worthy or anything like that. It's just to bring acknowledgement to what's been going on. Yeah. And this girl in the universe lady, she called one of the energies coming through as a clarion, CLAROIN. And I've heard another few really big speakers here in Australia say the same thing. Mm. And on the 27th of June, we got the message, the mother will call and the son will appear. Mm. And they showed me a crescent moon. And as soon as that happened, it was like a switch over. to Odin. And so we were getting toot, toot, toot.
Right. The call.
Clarion is clear ions.
Huh? Of course it
I was
is.
like, yeah, okay, very funny. Now I get it. But again, so now it's crossing over with information from outer space, with our day to day, with hospital,
Right.
and with a Norse god and the Fae,
Right.
and Pamela's mark on her knee.
So amazing how it all fits together. There's
And it's so beautiful because now I realize that I am meant to be here. I am meant to meet Pamela. She is meant to tell me that at the most perfect moments. And there is no randoms.
no.
And we can make it tricky, or we can have a laugh at it as well. And have
And when
fun.
we laugh, we're paying it, we're giving it attention. We're paying, focus to it. And when we do that, we're giving it energy and letting it be seen.
Yeah.
Like before it's kind of like a shy, like kind of thing, and then it turns into something bigger and more. There's before I get to mention, because I did see earlier, we are getting a big solar flare, just like, so the reference that Elsa's made a few times is this girl in the universe. She was talking about some of this stuff. We are getting a big solar flare. I believe I wrote it down as a M6, but it might be a C6 class solar flare. So how they classify it's like CMX, and then next to, so that's like the smallest, medium, large, and then they also have a series of numbers that follow to quantify the strength of that particular. It's a pretty big one, and we're going to be getting it pretty quick. From what I understand, it'll be hitting us and where I live with, or I don't know exactly how it works. When it comes to solar flares hitting the planet, though, where the impact is supposed to be before the end of the day today. And so, we're thinking 8-9 hours at least, no longer than that. And it's supposed to be a big enough one, or a thick enough one, that it'll last for up to 72 hours. So there's this also conversation that it's supposed to, a lot of people are aware that it interferes with your technology, especially things that are connected to Wi-Fi, cellular towers, and things like that. And so we're having unstable internet in areas because of results. So just to let you all know that as this is coming through, it's really a thing. And there's a word that's supposed to be used. There's two words that belong together that talk about Odin. And they're the words trudge and action. And trudge is to walk with purpose, as far as my understanding of the word. To trudge is to walk with purpose, like you just, let's go do this, like you'll see a kid trudging on their way to get to do their favorite thing, really. And then lastly, I wanted to add something else, because this is the vision that I keep getting over and over and over again. Most of us are like my kiddo. Yesterday, her only job was to clean up a little bit in her room. She's got a lot of stuff. She's a collector. She's one of those little fairy need shiny things, crow. Anyway, I went in there and looked at her to see how her progress has been. She only had a few things on her floor. Instead, she had taken almost all of her belongings and had piled it all into the middle of the floor in a circle, like a nest around her. She had an Iron Man mask on, a dinosaur tail, fairy wings, and a light up lightsaber. And she was singing as if she was like conducting a concert. This is what we do when we're at play. That's not called distraction. She was doing exactly what she was meant to do at that time. I wanted to click because we had talked about being distracted, getting distracted, losing focus. And losing focus means pulling a focus away from this 9 to 5 thing that we were talking about, and letting yourself be you, inside you, within your presence, and allowing yourself to do what my kiddo did yesterday. She ended up putting her things away, though, that's what was supposed to happen for her right now. And that did change my world too. I was having a bit of a moment. And when I peeked in and saw that, I forgot why I was having a moment. Like, this is beautiful. And this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So allow yourself to follow your intuition, your knowing. It's telling you where to go and how to be. It's telling you to go get chocolate, even though you don't want to go to the shops.
Well, it sounds very like, putting a circle around it. This is Kiddo's ceremony, her way, bringing in the energy, how to deal with the energy coming in her way. You didn't tell her to do this. She just did it. So she's following her senses. And so this is how she brought in the energy of yesterday there. And that's what we do. But if you have to follow suit, if you have to follow the program, this gets forced into certain situations, and then by doing a little bit more of this and a little bit more of this, you can let go of the 9 to 5. What do I need? What do I want? If it's want, you will never have enough of want.
Right.
But if you need it, then it'll come. And you have to keep trusting it. And Kiddo knew that she would be able to clean up her room. She just had to do this first.
Yeah.
And that was like me. We had to get chocolate first. Once we got chocolate, then we could get on with the rest.
Yeah. And not just getting on with the rest, because then now you're back into your alignment. You're back into that place of play where you're that child going, look, a butterfly. Now I'm going to go to the tree. And now I'm going to, like, now you can like play. The whole point of all of this, that is, I know I say it all the time, and I'm probably like a broken record. The point is to play. It truly is. When we're in our play, we are doing what we're meant to do. We're truly doing what we're supposed to do. That's really a true thing. And I don't resonate with that exactly, though, what we came here to do. And you raise your frequency up. And even if you don't leave your house, if you're a full-on hermit style right now, because a lot of us are, I get it. Nope, that's just a thing that we do. We're still, it's like ripples. It looks like percussion. Like when you see sound move through the air, it's the ripples that go through the cosmos, and it goes all the way out. And guess what else? This is cool. If you can stay in that place of play, that place of joy for 90 minutes, it takes 90 minutes to go to the edge of the cosmos and then come back. And if you're still the same resonance when you sent that out, then it will go and it'll be an amplified version. And it's like, it's spiritual crack. It's drugs. It feels like drugs, because it's just like, I mean, it's better than, it's just this, it then propels you for days. It's like having hyper wind on the sails of a beautiful sky ship. It just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And so any of you doing that, just keeping that in mind, that, be in that place of play. And play looks different for some people. I know people, play for them is a calculator and doing different equations. Like some people play is playing in the sand, talking with Elsa's play for me, things there are a lot of different things that can be play, and allow yourself to move and to dance is the most useful thing right now, because we are leaving some of these frequencies that have been in the way of our harmony. And where they're getting stuck is only because not all of us are able to having a lifetime where we do a lot of movement. And so that's just my
I want to confirm what you're saying. So I was looking on YouTube yesterday, and it was just before I was going to bed, and the little girls came in, and we're just talking. They ask the funniest question. So they're in 101 question mode, and my head just goes to spaghetti. And I was watching the screen of the TV, and I noticed a movie come up called a kids movie called Elementals. And here we go, smear campaign. And I'm finding when I come back on and see something in the media now, they're behind, obviously,
Yeah.
because they're not very good at remote viewing this next stage at all. But they're bringing out movies with the same words or similar words that are being used in the spiritual conversations around the world to smear campaign it. And that's my confirmation. So going back to that world, I go in and I go, oh, there they go. There they go again. It's a confirmation. And all these things we're talking about, you could trial and error it for a couple of days, test it for yourselves. And that's how we did it, because we weren't in any chat groups or anything. That's because we kept it within the family for decades. So
Right.
we would trial and error it. Okay, go this way, this way, this way for 2 or 3 days and see if it has good outcomes.
Right.
And then we went, okay, that worked. Let's do that more, do that more. And we would do a little in increments.
Just
Not
tweaking it
only,
here and there.
yeah, so you do it with the diet, but you also do it with talking to birds or whatever it is. And you do it and you put it into practice and you see if it feels different, if gifts present different, if new people come into your life. And not only do you show up, but when they say be a conscious being, actually like see what's going on in front of you as confirmation for you, because that will literally power you up. And this is Odin again. You need to power up. So give yourself a time frame so that you're in that headspace to watch what is going on. And I'm saying this to support people that aren't doing it enough, or it's not happening enough for them, or it feels stale, or nothing seems to be going ahead, which we had last week. Then we did a little bit more of this and bang.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And then, yes, that's exactly where we're in this place that, like, for instance, one of the first things that I experimented with was finding out what animals I can have telepathic conversations with. Some I can, some I can't. You play with it, you tweak it, you move it. And same with raising a star child like Elsa here. It's a whole, there's no books on it. And if there were, I wouldn't believe them. So I wouldn't read it anyway. But like, you figure it out as you go, and you're meant to be in the place that you are because you're able and capable to do this. That's why you're doing it, and so allowing yourself to figure it out, and it's going to change too. Like, you figure something out and it's like, oh, new rule, because the child's older or my body's no longer accepting that type of chemical any longer. Listening to those energies in your sphere, listening to your, all this stuff that's going in and through you, and trusting your own spiritual discernment. Like you were saying, there have been a few things that have popped up recently. Like there's this thing called Spirit Rangers, which my daughter got really excited about because it's talking about totems and animal medicine and stuff, but it's also indoctrinated. So it's the beautiful thing that I enjoy with my child is she has a discernment. She'll come and tell me what's BS. She'll say, it's stinking in there right now, is actually what she says. And that means that they're lying, and like, so she'll leave the room for a minute and then she'll go back. And however, it's really good to have these conversations with your partner, with whoever it is that you're able to connect with. However, most of us, just like Elsa said, start out on this journey alone. Like we feel very alone, and we don't realize that we have these families out here like us, that can connect. And any of you who are interested in connecting after this is over, I will fill in the description of this video, because we just went live from the Zoom app, and I'll add Elsa's how to get to her channel, as well as the link to our Telegram group, where Elsa shares information on there too when she has new content coming up. She has a really cool blog that I always forget about because I don't think about blogs very often. And then Elsa will pop in her link and it's like, oh, cool, I can go check this out. And it's got so much of this understanding words and pulling apart the word to find its truest meaning. And so it's really cool. If you would, if you're okay with that, I would love to also post that in the description so people can find that.
Our kids say, Mum, you know your blogs are jibber jabber talk. They say, they say, do anyone understand it? And I say, well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people read it and go, what the? But sometimes people will just pick out pieces, and that's enough. And they say, so why have you become a blogger? Because you know you hate that word. And I do. I really dislike that word. But it's another way of just putting it in a more detailed version of how it's unfolding or how it's presenting at that moment. And it's just there as again, all this information that we put out, like yourself, Pamela, is it's unconditional. We're just putting it out to assist because we were that person. We were the crazy crystal lady. We were the crazy lady that talks to another realm. Like that was us. We get that.
The neighbors actually called me the crazy garden lady. That's what that was called.
I could so see you and little kiddo with your little Viking outfits, like to a storm and a drum. Yeah. So yeah, that we are the crazy family, but you know, it has really helped us through these last few years.
Yeah.
It really has. It really, really has. It's been weird. It is weird. But
it's gonna get weirder too, but good weird. Good weird. In fact, someone pointed out on the chat earlier, I forgive me for I can't remember who it was, had pointed out that the Lionsgate's coming up next month. However, the Lionsgate next year is an 8. So that Lionsgate is 888. Like we had this year's a 7-year, so the 7/7 portal was a 7/7/7 portal. I hadn't even thought of that. And so like Lionsgate is the one portal that everyone senses, whether or not they're even remotely awake, that people know it's going on. They just don't know what it is sometimes. And it's that the Syrian light is so bright and so pure and helpful to us that we have an abundance of ability to heal many things, and therefore all the things that need to be healed are going, hey, hi, look at me, hi, and you're just like, whoa, it feels like you're having flashbacks, PTSD kind of flashbacks and stuff. Just all of this stuff's coming, and a lot of times it's stuff that we don't recall having experienced in this lifetime because we are multi-dimensional, multi-lifetime beings. We've had many lifetimes that things have not healed. And what's more, I'm finding more these days, because I had done all this ancestral healing and stuff. Now I'm finding there's a couple of things that are coming from this lifetime that wasn't even a thing before, that I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. However, most of what's coming through are experiences from those lifetimes I wasn't in, like not in this soul fragment.
Like karmic, like possibly through
it feels like it's service. Like I came in and said, okay, I did my homework. Anybody else need some homework done?
Wow. So yeah, because even though we come in as oversouls, there is karmic patterns we have noticed. So someone might act like the grandpa, or your sister might act like your daughter, or your daughter might, so we see those, and we do find that interesting. And that is passed through, I believe, the bloodline.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do have that come up as well. It's a lot coming up, right?
And it's because we can heal it now, and that's why it's coming, and it's useful to know when this stuff's coming up before it does, not to be like, oh, get ready or warning or anything like that. It's just like, when it comes, now I know what it is, that I don't have to have a fear response of any kind. Like I understand it. And it's also, the best part of the story is it's temporary. Ding ding. So you don't have to worry about it being here forever. Because I have this thing, I used to call it foreverism. It was like a disease, right? A disease where I would, if something was happening, no matter what it was, it's gonna be like this forever, and it's not. None of it's, we're all always in motion, always in change, in the fluid nature of the river that is God's will, if you want to call it that. And so, everything's temporary. However, this is noticeably temporary. And so when these things come up, to allow yourself, the message from Archangel Michael is to acknowledge these things. You can say, this happened. This really happened. This person got this thing happen, or this flashbacks to this. A lot of times it's horrific events. So you feel like you're snapping for a second, so just, you don't have to like investigate and pay your focus on it. It's like, I see you happened. I see you existed. Without judgment is the other part of it. So where does it fit? Don't do the research is what I've been guided to do, which is hard for me because I'm like, oh, cool, real history, and so, but no, I don't do the research. Just, you don't belong to me. You don't belong to anybody else. You're moving through. So no judgment, because when we judge something, we hold it in place. We keep it prisoner, hostage. And then to release it with love. So acknowledge without judgment and release it with love. So when we say, I love you to someone we love, that feeling we get right here, propel it with that sensation to help it to leave. And what's the coolest part about this part of the mission is when we propel it out, you send off that love, the immense gratitude that all of a sudden swells over you. That is amazing. The sensation of what profound appreciation for your assisting to release this energy. Lots of time, this energy's been here for hundreds of lifetimes. We're talking a long time, and the release is just so profound. And the gift that I find out every time I do this, when this happens, afterward, I have so much energy that I want to run, which it's great. I have an 8-year-old. She gets excited. She's like, yay, so it's playtime. And so we start running around and we go and we just play, because I have now all of this energy that can go someplace, and so anyway, there's my tangent.
I always find after speaking with Pamela, I can get extra chores done. Farm chores. So I'll let them build up a bit, because I know after the Zoom, I'll have all this energy because I'll be buzzing. You said how did you say?
Foreverism.
So it has Eve in it. So whenever you hear yourself say never or ever, so ever, never. So never is N at the beginning and R at the end. So this is where they end it. So they end it with powerful Eve, and then R is called the dog letter, and the dog letter is a calling. Dog is also God, so it's God. So when they put all these goop on these words. So if you're saying you never do this, you never do that, it's a hold. Right. You've cast a hold spell. You always do this. You never do this. They're called no man's land. You've just placed holds on yourself or other family members.
Right.
And that can just be an act for 3 days. Make sure you don't say those type spells. Right. Until you really understand the words. Once you understand
when
the
you
words,
say that word. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. Well, it's good that you're saying that, because you're helping me confirm it.
Yeah, I felt it right here when you said,
sorry, it's a little time delay. So you said you felt it here.
When you said I actually don't like saying that word. In my head, it's one of those I do my best not to say, the never word. Like, it's one of those that just, though when you said it, every time that you said it like 4 times, I think I felt it here, and it, like, just, I felt my heart chakra get disconnected, almost, just not really disconnected, though, the sensation, and it just drops, and it does feel like an anchor of like, pull, never mind, you're not a kite anymore, you're a rock, like that's what it feels like. It's really bizarre.
So that what you're talking about now is what we call reversing the spin. So you've just reversed the spin on it. You've released all that karmic energy around that word. And now you see the word as a more playful word with a few letters attached to it. And then you just get on with things.
Right.
And the next time you hear that, your ions know.
Right.
So you deal with that next situation. When you hear that word, when someone throws it at you, you never, well, you go, here's that word. So it becomes playful again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of having this heavy talk, it's like, do you know what that word means?
Right.
So
I love this stuff.
it is, it helps us with the goop. That's what it does. It just helps us with the goop. Because we get gooped.
We do.
Words. We all
I
get
think
goop
that's
words.
why we have a alone time in the beginning of our awakening. I think that it feels like a penance, though. I feel like it's also, if when you're in it, though, from this perspective, I see that it's a gift that you're given that chance. Because what happens is we have a dark night of the soul, we sever relationships, we shed relationships. Either what really happens is we realize those relationships we've been having, we were forcing. Neither person were actually getting anything useful out of it except for stagnation. And so we slowly find ourselves alone. And then somewhere in there, we realize, is there anyone else like me out there, where that maybe not have been a thought before? And so then we start to search. And just like Elsa, I started this in 1983. And so, and back then as a toddler, basically, nobody knew about this stuff. The words that they did have aren't even the same words we use anymore. And, it was all this, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Close your mouth. Don't talk about that. And like, people are going to know that you're crazy kind of stuff, and however, this we find later on has been something that is a generational thing, where our mothers or our fathers or their fathers and their mothers had the same thing that we're going through, and they did it in a denser time, and so we were taught this fear of being quiet that echoes back all of these lifetimes of persecution. Be quiet, close the mouth, all this throat chakra stuff. And now here we are, and we're standing, and we're tall and powerful in this masculine beauty, divine masculine that's coming in. There's this height, and you notice your posture changing, and it's just like, whatever anyone else thinks has got nothing to do with me. You can't make anyone feel a certain way. You can't make anyone be mad at you. That's them. If I am pure in my intention, I have nothing to apologize for, even if the action was offensive. And so this is all new stuff that's kind of like, yeah. Though the main point that I got distracted on, I was trying to make, was that I forgot.
I'm going to carry here. Quiet is QET.
That's funny.
And then QET. So by being quiet, we're queuing up, and now we're speaking up.
That's so fun.
It's cute. Right? It's seriously, that is what it is, though. It's a cue. We're waiting. Right. What are you waiting for?
Yeah,
you're doing quiet.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and there are many people out here now. Now we're all speaking. There's so many of us just saying, and that's that male, that Druid voice again, the speaking with purpose, like misinterpreted as pride perhaps sometimes, because it's so like confident in its speech and it spoke. That's interesting. It spoke of a will. And so a lot of us are noticing ascension symptom related stuff around the throat and mouth and sinuses, like the upper gum stuff that happens right now during a solar flare is affecting me. And this is all about this speech, opening up, letting it be, letting the truth come out, and being your true authentic self. And if you aren't in an area or around people that you can connect with that are in this boat, and you just want to like bounce ideas off and stuff, we have that large Telegram group as goop. We have that large Telegram group, as well as we also have a Zoom meeting that we have every Friday, which is quite late for some people. It's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. that we do that, and that's free. And then we also do paid ones, where there's like smaller groups that are like $15 a person and stuff. So I'm not the only one doing this. There's a lot of different channels that I know of on YouTube that are doing it, and a lot of different communities. There's these retreats that are forming that never formed like they did before all over the world, throughout the year. And this is places for you to find your community, to find your home, to find that honed place, which is a home, right? That's what you're honing into your energy and your frequency that you choose to keep. So we have a couple more minutes if you want to have anything more that you'd like to add.
So I have to come back to Odin, because this isn't a specialty of mine, but I've always been curious in it. And Odin was particularly had runes, a lot of runes type symbols.
Uh-huh.
When I met you, you had runes behind you on your wall. You had a beautiful pink with black symbols. They're the same as Odin's.
Wow.
I'm like, how is that? She was telling me back then. So this energy, this dark night of the soul, these moments of quiet, is that this is energy that's with Pamela already. It's been there for a while. Since this mark on her knee was there from 11. It's there, and it's just waiting.
Yeah.
It's waiting in queue for the ET to be ready.
Right.
It's just waiting and waiting. And I loved how you said, that dark night of the soul. And you're like, is there anyone out there? I think for a few good years, all I heard was crickets, and I found them okay. I'm all right with the crickets.
Right.
Crickets, and another realm. All right, I'm getting it. But through that process, you keep, like you said, you hear the other being of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are in this phase now, the other being of you. Is there anyone out there? And you're noticing, and you're witnessing, and you're noticing, and you're witnessing, and you're noticing and witnessing. And even if you don't understand it, at least you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because that's such a tricky place to get to.
Right.
That spot.
Be able to listen.
Yeah, to be able to listen to the fact that you're listening. I mean, that just itself is a huge practice.
Right.
In religion, that's a huge practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because when you hear about people going, sorry, when you hear they go into confession and things like that, they're confessing to a hierarchy. They're giving their power over to somebody else. But the confession is you're confessing, you're communicating, and you're fessing up.
Right.
Yeah. So you go into confession with yourself. So you have to be a quiet ET to hear that. And that's okay. And that's why a lot of meditation is quiet. Not necessarily in our house, but in most people's meditations, it's quiet.
Yeah. There's so many different, like, I remember what I was raised with, it was that in religious, and everybody's different, though my interpretation was this religious world that I was in, was that I had to constantly say that these other beings, humans and beings, were much, much greater than me. And I was always supposed to declare lack of worth all the time. And you're supposed to show reverence and only importance when those individuals were speaking, and anything that was said from anyone else like myself didn't actually matter. Like, it was wasting everyone's time.
No,
we got this cough going today.
Yeah, I've got a little. We were taught, well, we weren't baptized or anything, and we weren't Greek Orthodox, and we weren't Christian. So we were we were the no ones, so we were kind of like the Satan children or something. They'd put holy smoke on us when we'd come in the house because we weren't baptized. And so we were in no man's land, I guess. But we were told to respect our elders.
Right.
And I do understand that, but as I've come into being an adult, I realize that respect is earned. You don't just get it because you're old.
Right.
And and in the animal kingdom, you have to earn respect. It's just not handed out. You earn it. You act, you behave with manners, or you get bitten or sent out of the herd.
Or you find out they're
manners.
not as sorry, I did it again.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I did it again. Okay, I was going to say, it's like, so I just had a merging with higher self that happened. And the reason I bring this up is that for the longest time, this was an individual that I went to, like, that I was like, oh, wow, you're so knowledgeable and all knowing. And that's how I kind of went to that person. They're the wise one I went to. And like this blue woman, I would go to her and I would talk to her. And she was like, when something was about to occur, she'd come in and she'd be there for counsel and with wisdom. And then I just merged with her. And dude, I got to tell you, Elsa, she's nothing special. Like, she's just regular. Like, I put so much importance in this being. And it's just like, she doesn't shit ice cream and pee perfume. Like, she's regular. You know, it's the same as before. I have mood swings still. I still have cravings for foods and things. I still have all of this stuff. Nothing's different, except maybe I have a little bit more of like a smart aleck sense, because she was really, really smart alecky. What's funny though is that I had decided she was important, and so she became. And then now coming to this point, just like when we put all this importance in our adults in our life, we say, oh, you're so important, you're the giants of our world. And then we grow up and we realize they're making it up as they go along too. You know, and so just with wisdom, considering who you're in the end of the day, it's you who decides, is what I'm trying to, and I'm agreeing with you and just saying that story, is that, you know, inside you what's correct, you know. And there's going to be a lot of people that are saying very similar stories, but they're all going to be a little bit different. And that's just how it's translated through that vessel. That doesn't mean that you need to take everything that's being said either, just because you resonate with some of it. The stuff that, quite frankly, looks like a disgusting piece of food, leave that on the table and pick what you want and leave the rest, right? And so, you know, the world that we're in, the spiritual realm, is definitely a buffet, you know, and pick what resonates with you and leave the rest. And, you know, maybe down the road, which I found for me, stuff that didn't resonate with me a decade ago is like putting on bright flashing lights for me now, you know. So just when you're ready for it, it'll present itself.
There's no rules.
Right.
There's no rules. There's no history, and there's no time.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Well, you just follow your inner, path. And that's it. That is really the way to go. It's not easy all the time. But once you know that spot, that feeling, it's definitely easier to get back there. And if you can practice it daily, it's easier to get back there. It's easier to get back there. And then what happens is you stay there in that space. And I believe that's what they mean by ascended, is that you're holding ground on that center of the compass. Yeah. And you're holding ground, you're holding ground, you're holding ground. Yeah. And you're meant to have it isn't meant to be a perfect world, because it would be extremely boring. It would be really, it would be so boring. And I am going to keep the visual of little kiddo in the bedroom, putting a big circle of all the toys around and holding like Odin, and then getting on with their day. power up, bring that stomping, that energy in, and then go off and do what you have to do that day, and see what
It's
unfolds. Be a witness to it.
it's to celebrate. There's actually something we do here. We dance before we go out. If we have to go to places, we dance and we win, and that's play for us. We dance. There's certain songs that just are inspiring, and they're like celebration kind of songs for us. And they swell, they grow, they have a crescendo to them. And like all things in spirit are melodic as well as of lights. They're the um musical lights that we have before us. And so allowing ourselves to be in that place is really, you said something I need to say, because they keep we call that GPS. Once you go someplace, you know how to get back. It's GPS. And like it's funny because this is Archangel Michael. At the end of most meditations that I'm doing with somebody, we get to a place and then he always reminds me to tell people, now you have the GPS, you can come back here. Once you come, you can always return, even if you wander away for a moment. And so knowing that a lot of you are returning to gifts, your GPS of these gifts, these knowings that you had as a very young person, and allowing yourself to know that you've never lost access to it because you always have the GPS, just like you were saying with the previous statement.
Love Archangel Michael. So Archangel Michael Michael's my father's name. Michael's come up a lot, and I do love the name Michael. Michael, the origin words of Michael is my shell. My shell is being arc. I was like, oh, because it's Archangel Michael being arc beings. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. That's so cool. That's my dad's name.
That's awesome.
Arc being. That's a lot, because a lot of the time it doesn't matter which order it's in, because again, it's no time. So the arc being.
Wow.
So
That's
whenever
really
you hear that name, Michael or Michelle, they're arc beings.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, because they're talking about bridge people and the arc.
Bridge. Oh, because I never thought of an arc as a so
Yeah.
An arc, a bridge, yeah.
So that means
people.
That we're being channeled all this time to say that we're, to them, included in the realm of the archangels, then, to translate that to what you just said, because they're always saying you're the bridge people, and they're always saying that, and that's the arc, and the ability to experience what we've been calling 3D, though I've always get like almost a slap on the hand visually that's not the right, so we'll go with it, because they're existing in the 3D as well as the ninth. Most of us are calling it 5D when we're in 9. It's just kind of a thing that we're doing, and that there's like this, like, you keep spectrum like this, where we don't tend to exist on all of them at the same time. We notice where we're at, so we'll go down to the 3. And what this is for is that when we stand upon this bridge and show our motion on this bridge, then all of a sudden others know there is a bridge. It's like stepping out into the nothingness, and all of a sudden that person is standing on part of a bridge. And then the next step, oh, there's more of a bridge. Once you stand on the bridge, then others can see that it exists. I'm not saying jump off a cliff, by the way. Just
it's like when you speak, because we're speaking about our health and things, we always have to put a disclaimer. Yeah. Where they talk really fast and a whole 100 words. So please, again, when you hear our words, it's discernment and manners, and find yourself through it. But when we say 3D, because again, I agree, we get a bit of like, well, you're labeling now. And I totally agree with that feeling that you get. When we talk about spin beings and star beings and star seeds, we see that tetrahedron, which is the star. Yeah. So they're saying, so you have the 3D dimension, so it goes like this. but it's like a sphere.
Right.
Yeah, so it doesn't just go that way, it goes. So imagine it's hundreds and hundreds of compasses on different increments in that star. So there's when they say ninth dimension or fifth dimension or third dimension, I agree with what you were saying, because there's which version,
Right.
which angle, what side of the planet, what dusk,
Right.
dawn, like which season are you in?
Right. Yeah,
Is
you
it?
didn't even bring up color. That's what I was thinking. You shouldn't even mention the color
Yeah,
part.
color. That's the
Yeah,
color.
that's a whole
But
nother.
so it comes back to that theory, the slit theory. It's all through perception and how you're spinning and where you're spinning as to what increment of that dimension you're on.
Right.
So yeah, it's it's so
And
funny that we're talking about all this.
I
It's just
know, I
like
know.
it just makes me laugh. It just because this is not our professions.
No, yeah, we're just having a chat and doing it in public.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
yeah.
call it public. The other point that I do need to get going in a second here. My daughter probably needs to eat soon, but she's one of those has to eat 3 times a day. Like, no, I am noticing though. I'm making her meals when I'm not eating because I only eat late at night now. Like I'm not eating any other time in the day. It's just what my body wants right now. And some people are eating more. So that's an example of listening to your own body. I did want to say that with that tetrahedron, we also notice that when we spin enough, like you said, it's an orb, it's a sphere of light. And that's usually what you see when you see a being. And the being does not have to be as large as it would be in a physical way. Some of these microscopic orbs are quite large. They're presenting at this time with the ability to in a very small way because that's more efficient for them at that time. And so there's a lot of intelligence that goes behind choosing how much energy you want to expel. Like, you don't have to. And so a lot of people are seeing more orbs lately. I'm seeing a lot more crafts. It's pretty cool. There's a whole nother conversation that 11111 or 111 right now. There's a whole nother conversation I meant to have with you and meant to quote unquote. And that's the point, is that it's supposed to come through what's supposed to come through, and so next time maybe we can talk about the spider race.
Oh, that's fun. Wow, that's it. I love that one. Well, I mean, Odin is saying the time, and he's saying got to feed kiddo now. So
yeah, and it's 111.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing Odin through, and thank you for just sharing your grandfather.
Yeah, thank you.
Who knew the whirlwind that it would create?
Wow, no idea at all. It's fascinating. And everything is just following in your moment, being with the flow, and whatever's supposed to come forward does.
Yeah.
And then what's not supposed to doesn't.
Yeah. It just falls away.
Exactly.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you. I love you. And thank you all for joining. I've been watching a little bit as the comments have been going through. I really appreciate all of your input and all of your love. I've been mostly seeing this whole call, heart. People are sending hearts up. I love this, that you can see that. And just, there's been so much of a loving response to this conversation. I wanted to let you know about that. And so thank you all for joining us in this way. And for anyone who's joining us on replay, knowing that you'll be able to find the information to reach Elsa's channel, as well as her blog, will be found in the description of this video, as well as any other links that I mentioned, like our Telegram group and so on. So thank you so much, Elsa. I love you. And
Give
I love
kid
you
a big
all.
hug.
I will.
All right.